Hi everybody, my name's Lance. Welcome back to Ultimate Postman. Today we're gonna be fixing a computer with fire. There are three major manufacturers when it comes to video cards on computers: Intel, AMD, NVIDIA. Intel generally creates just basic graphics. It works for most applications. AMD and NVIDIA create much better graphics. Because of that, they run a lot hotter. There's an argument between which one creates better graphics, but overall, in my opinion, I think NVIDIA creates just a little bit better graphics than AMD. A customer brought in his older iMac for a video card repair. This Mac had an AMD chip that has failed and it's been producing lines on the display. Boom! Over time, with AMD and NVIDIA producing a lot of heat, you have the chip on the PCB board and it just desolders itself just slightly off of it. Running what's called a video reflow process heats up the solder and gets the chip back onto the board. Unfortunately, Intel chips can't really be reflowed the same way that NVIDIA and ATI chips have. So if you have an Intel chipset, I'm sorry if it breaks, but the nice thing is Intel chips are very, very stable and they generally don't need to be repaired. The whole board just fails and you have to replace the whole board. But because they're very stable, they tend to last a lot longer. Broken video cards became a thing in the mid-2000s and lasted until about the mid-2010. Not just on Apple, but on multiple manufacturers, including Dell, HP, Acer, Gateway, you name it. Getting into the Mac, remove the glass. Once you got that set aside, 8 screws around the sides. Tilt it toward you, let it carefully drop down a little bit, and you want to unplug all the cables on the inside. It's 1 cable, 2, 3, and 4, and make sure you've unplugged it from power. Be very careful not to touch this board. This is the power supply. If you touch this and it has power on there, you will shock yourself, and I've done that many times. Here's the inside of the iMac. This is the video card that you want to remove, so you have to remove everything out and then you can get to it. You don't have to remove here, that guy, the optical drive, anything else. Get to that, just the logic board area, which requires you to take the infrared sensor, pop it out, and now you can remove it. After you remove it, there's going to be 2 screws back here, 1 screw up there. Cards out. Yeah, you have your ATI graphics card. You don't screw these guys, unscrew them from this side. Now you have the heatsink and the graphics card. Remove this, which you actually don't really need, to be honest, and you gotta clean up here, nice and clean. And now we're going to use a torch cool to add heat and redo the solder. Fire. Now you can touch the torch directly to the chip. You just have to be very careful. If the chip starts bubbling, you've gone too far, and you only do it for a very minimum amount of time. And I've been very successful in my methods of using a flame to fix video cards. Now unfortunately, every time you do this to a card, you degrade it just a little bit. Even if you do it in an oven, like a lot of people do, they use very directed heat onto the card. You only get so long on the card. The more that you do this via flame or in the oven heating, the more the card degrades. After about 3, 4, maybe up to 5 times, you have to replace the card. On these models of iMacs, replacing the card is becoming harder and harder to find because they only made so many units. Now you do have to let the card cool down between the passes of the flame that you put on there. We're going to do it again one more time. I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of computers, and it's worked perfectly just about every time. There's a few instances where the motherboard is just bad or the video card's just bad. Those are few and far in between from my experience. Now you're watching me do this on an ATI card. NVIDIA cards are the same exact process. The difference are NVIDIA cards can take a lot more pressure than the ATI cards. NVIDIA cards can also produce a little bit better graphics than ATI in my opinion. That's why they require a lot more than ATI does to do these processes. Now that we're done, that's cool. We're applying some thermal. Thermal compound is hard to get off your hands. Be careful. You have to line these 4 holes back up, put on the adapter, screw it in, and then throw this back right there. The nice thing with this is you can screw it in and not have to hold down these Phillips head to get them in there. It tightens on its own. And now with it back together, we're testing booting it up before we screw the display on and put the glass back on. No lines. Right to the boot up, right to the login page. This guy is fixed.
A great success!
Now you just have to go through the functions like the webcam, speakers, wireless, just to make sure it works, to make sure everything's plugged in before you call your client. So that's the reflow process. It takes not a ton of time to do. What's your guys' thoughts? Intel, NVIDIA, ATI graphics, what do you prefer? Leave your comments in a respectful, civil conversation down below. This has been Lance for Ultimate Postman. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it interesting, if you liked it, leave me a like, subscribe. Let me know if you'd like to see this process in real time, and I'll post it. If you're watching this, remember, you are Ultimate. I'll catch you next time.